Hey Thespians, I figured it's about time I checked in and said hi and how are you doing and what's going on and everything along those lines. Not really that much to report, continuing to work on shows a lot. Romeo and Juliet opens in approximately like 12 days, something like that. Something close. So that's coming up quick and fast, and I'm really excited for that to open. It's looking to be an absolutely killer show. We got our postcards recently the day, the things that we used to advertise the show, and I'm really fond of the tagline that we're using. It says, "Come fall in love with the show you thought you knew," which is a wicked way to actually advertise this show. I think it's something that we're really achieving in doing with this particular performance of Romeo and Juliet. It's really changing and fixing kind of a show that people kind of shrug off a lot these days. Like it's one of Shakespeare's classics, and it's studied every year in schools, and because of that, kids get bored of it, and they decide suddenly that it relates to schools and it relates to that time where they spent studying this boring old archaic language that they didn't understand, and they forget that these plays are written to be performed, and they're written to be done on a stage and said and listened to and watched, and that reading them you get a completely different feeling than when that happens. But because of that feeling that you get when you're reading them and you study them, so often the performances end up being marred by that as well. What I'm really proud of in this particular production that we're doing now is that we're working really hard to move away from the stereotypes of Romeo and Juliet and just doing a really good production of Romeo and Juliet, a really good R&J that really captures the tragedy and the lightness and joy of life that exists in that play. The first half of that play is just joy of life. Just such joy and happiness in what's happening there, and then everything turns to shit, and everyone dies, and it becomes a tragedy, and I spend a lot of time crying, because all of my friends are dead by the end of the play, and it's horrible, and it's done, and my voice just broke. Apparently I'm sad, even when I'm talking about it, because all of my friends die. It's a really great play though, and I'm really proud of it. My other project, the Columbine, the show we're doing about the Columbine massacre, is coming along really rapidly. We've still got a good 2.5 months to go before we go on. Recently we had to have a big chat with the cast about the fact that I want them to treat it as if they've got constantly only like 2 weeks until they go on, so that they continue to work and make work. What I've learned from working on a project that takes this long to make, it's really easy for people to get kind of stuck in the, we've got 3 months, it's fine, and I'm kind of terrified that they're going to keep saying that, and we're going to start saying that, and then we'll get to about a month before we open, and we go, oh, shit, we don't have a show, what do we do? So we've been working really hard to get that out of their heads. It's a lot of fun doing that show. I had a rehearsal last Sunday, and I finished it, and it was one of the first times in a really long time that I'd done something and I'd walked out of the rehearsal process. I was doing a lot of directing in that one. As the assistant director, I was kind of taking over from the director for that particular rehearsal because it was more in my area of expertise of physical work and ensemble building. And I walked out thinking, oh, I'm actually kind of good at what I do. That's a bizarre thought. Oh, okay. Maybe I could do this in the future, in real life, not as a volunteer thing. Yeah! So that was a nice thought to have. I haven't had one of those in a long time. Usually I doubt myself and don't think that much about it. It was really interesting to watch your video, Mark, about directors and directors asking weird things of people. I am definitely a director who has asked weird things of people before. I remember I turned to my assistant director / sound designer when I was doing the O show, and I think I've said this to you guys before, and I suddenly just looked at him and just went, Lindsay, is there some way you can make the Cantina Band song from Star Wars sound like a sexy salsa dance? Which I think was one of the oddest things I've asked someone to do as a director. I'll leave it at that for now. I'll see you all next week. I'll hopefully try and make a video again next week. It should be alright. I think I've got another day off. So I will see you then. Bye.